Hi, welcome to our learning module, Finding Your Time Management Style. Do you realise that time management actually has a style? One size doesn't fit all. So today we're going to create your own strategy, and even if some days you're not going to be on track, you'll have the elements to be able to pick yourself up and get back on track. I'm Lydia Kaplegan. I'm Head of Operations and Business Partnerships for the Australian Institute of Professional Coaches. I also train people in valuable soft skills and work on several small projects with a variety of different clients. I've been in sales, operations and customer service for 25 years, and I've also owned 4 startup family businesses. For the last 10 months, my team and I have been involved in 2 transformational business projects to transition and implementation of a new online business model, which was extremely time sensitive. I've also held many workshops in the last 3 years with individuals and businesses who wanted to supercharge their personal and business effectiveness. We've done this through time management workshops, rapport building courses and customer service skills. So today you will identify your time management style. We hope to review your SMART goals to suit your style and to suit the needs of your family and your business team. We also hope to discover where you invest most of your time and identify any gaps to then create a roadmap for your ideal week. And finally, there'll be tips on how to prioritise your actions and your emails. Did you know that of a time given to a workday, 80% is spent doing tasks with little to no value and only 20% is spent doing something important? On average, employees work the hardest from 9 to 12. After this time, productivity tends to drop significantly. And if you spend 10 to 12 minutes planning your day, you'll save up to 2 hours of time that would have otherwise gone to waste, and finding that extra time you need to focus on other things. This was published in the Australian HR Institute magazine of January this year. Quite interesting to actually take all of that on board, especially if you're planning a time management strategy. Imagine if you could transfer a to-do list into an ideal week, which was broken down into a daily method of operation. Sadly, we still have to have a to-do list, no matter what type of time management style you have, it ends up you need to have a to-do list. What if you could find that extra hour in your day to be able to handle rapid change more effectively? As we all know, this last 12 months, change has been constant. And we've had to pivot and change and move. But what if you could actually plan for it? What if it wasn't going to be so traumatic? And what if you were ready to take and embrace the next steps? You could transform your business in 90 days with a time management strategy that was aligned to your business and people. We did it. How did we do it? Time management, and it can be done. So getting back to our topic today is about identifying your time management style. One of the most important things is to know what's your learning and communication style. By that I mean, are you visual, auditory, kinesthetic? And with that you'll be able to manage your time effectively, because it actually starts with you and your mindset, and using those communication and learning styles you'll be able to learn new habits. For many of you, you will understand and know that you are a visual person. So what that means that you need to see graphs, charts, pictures to actually understand what's going on. You actually learn best by watching people do things, and then you actually mentally transfer that situation and those problems. You tend to remember things that are written down or even drawn on a whiteboard. So for you, time management, a calendar probably works best for you, as well as a to-do list on a weekly basis, listing all the actions that you need to do for that week. And then you need to prioritise that on a daily basis so that you can check these things off. If you are auditory, you do tend to retain information through hearing and speaking. You actually like to summarise ideas and to a degree like to be told how to do things or given direction. Once an auditory person hears something to remember, their mind actually holds on to that information. The problem with that is quite often the mind becomes quite cluttered with information. So how do they get that information out and into a sort of strategic plan? A suggestion is actually to use a voice recording that maybe can convert voice to text and transfer those ideas. So for example, if you were in a meeting and then you sat in your car and, oh, I don't want to put a laptop up and email all this information, what you might do is just send a voice to text, key points for you to attend to it later. And eventually this will be broken down into a, yes, you guessed it, a to-do list. Kinesthetic. These people are more hands-on. They like to actually get in there and have a go first in order to learn. Sometimes they like to demonstrate how things are done rather than verbally explaining things. And they also tend to like it to work in groups rather than alone. So a calendar and a to-do list are fine, but they may also want to include the use of post-it notes and cover the wall full of information as to what they actually want to do. So every little topic is written on those notes and manipulated, moved onto certain days. They do like logical order and priority, but once again, it gets transferred to a to-do list. So how does this all come together? Understanding and knowing whether you're visual, auditory or kinesthetic actually helps you plan your time management more effectively. Many of us are told to create SMART goals, but the SMART goals tend to be done to suit a business needs, not necessarily your own learning needs. So my suggestion is that you review your SMART goals and a wheel of life, which I'll go into a little bit later, and identify the things that are important for you. Then I suggest that step 2, that you create a mind map, a roadmap of what's involved for you to transition those ideas or plans and goals into a weekly planner and ideal week. And the final key to the success of any time management is the actual accountability. Your manager can make you accountable, but if you're using your time management style, you might need to have a buddy, a friend, or even a great app on your phone, because we know that if you can't manage what you can't measure. But I must also highlight that we all crave the being able to work in flexible times, but with great accountability comes with increased flexibility, or increased flexibility comes great accountability. So remember that. So if you have more time to do more things, you need to be more accountable as to what you are doing. At the end of this presentation, you'll have a resource, downloadable resource. For those that haven't got SMART goals, you'll be able to work on this in your own time. It'll be a homework. But what I wanted to highlight is that many of you will know that SMART goals are specific, measurable, actionable and realistic, but they're also time-bound. And we forget about that time-bound. We forget that we need to deliver things within a certain period of time. And so that is the key element. And that is why time management is so important as part of your SMART goals. Why mind maps? Mind maps, there's great tools, there's great apps that you can also use. I actually prefer to get on a whiteboard with post-it notes. It's a great way of linking key concepts using images, lines and links. It's a central concept to be able to link everything together to make sure that you're not leaving anything out. So then how do you transfer that information to an ideal week? What an ideal week is, it's a blueprint. It's not actually specific tasks. It might be you have a Monday to Friday planner. Monday mornings you make sure that you exercise first thing in the morning. Then you're set up for work, and then you have meetings. Then you have customer activities. You might actually have specific rapport building activities that you want to do, depending on where you are in your business, whether you're an individual or a group or a team or a sole trader. So the blueprint is meant to outline what commitments you have each week and what it will take to achieve your outcome. And with that, it's a guideline and a blueprint and a footprint for you to be able to manage your time effectively. So one key thing that you need to remember is that when you're serious about time management, you need to remember that other people's time is also equally as important as your own. And the key factor that somebody's frustrations on delivering a certain project and time management could actually be another person's preferences. They're moving at their own pace and delivering at the workload that they want. So be mindful of that. This requires high-level communication and regular check-ins to make sure that you're creating a win-win situation. Something I really wanted to share with you, and it's a favourite of mine, is people quite often go, but what if I'm working on a project and the boss comes over and asks me immediately to drop everything and work on this? I find having this matrix stuck on your computer or a wall or next to you on a desk is really important in helping you manage your time effectively. It actually comes from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you know it, it's by Dr. Stephen Covey. He formulated 4 quadrants. I've put in some suggestions where I feel that if you're looking at things, so for example, let's look at quadrant 1. It's the urgent and important quadrant. You've got crises, you've got project meetings, you've got anything that's been postponed, last minute demands, and basically deadline driven projects. Let's take a look at quadrant 4. Not urgent and not important. Could be web browsing, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube watching, analysis paralysis, doing activities for the sake of doing things. It might be just, oh look, I'll photocopy something 50 pages to complete. This is just an indication, but what happens when someone comes to you, you can then quickly work out, well look, it's important, but not as important as what I'm doing now, which is a deadline-driven project. So you can respond, I know this is important, but I'll get to it in a couple of hours. And that way you're creating a win-win situation. To the point that I'm even now in my own team, I say to them, in the subject matter, if it's super important or something that I really need to know now, I put the abbreviation UI, a UE, in front of the subject matter. So as I'm looking quickly at my phone or I'm in a meeting and I see something come through, I know it's super important and I actually need to attend to it right now. All right, speaking of emails, the 4 Ds. What should we do with our emails? How many times have we come back from holidays or a long weekend or been sick and we've come back and we've found hundreds of emails sitting there for our attention? My suggestion is that you look at these 4 Ds and learn them and make this a habit. Look at them and go, this is a do email, this is a delete, this is a defer, and this is a delegate. This will help you immensely in not feeling overwhelmed with the hundreds of emails that are sitting in your inbox. I hope that's a good tip. It certainly works for me, and especially when you're getting customers, teams, executives, people coming to you all the time demanding things, it's really good to be able to work out the clutter. This is just something that is recently, I've been working with some small business owners, and they are feeling exceedingly overwhelmed and getting bogged down with time-consuming tasks, which they may not be good at. I've had a few people recommend highly having virtual assistants. They love what they do. They can help you take on those time-consuming tasks and actually free you up to do more innovative and strategic things in your business and on your business. So lastly, before we start actually reflecting on where you spend your time, I actually want you to take a few moments to reflect on your activities from the last week, the last 7 days. Hopefully it's fairly similar to what you normally do. Think about your work, your personal and your flexible time. Who have you spent it with? Have you done exercising? Have you watched Netflix? It's amazing how people all of a sudden say, oh, I haven't got any time to do any studying or go and visit, mum or dad, and yet they can sit down and watch Netflix, binge watch Netflix for the next 3 hours. So it is about prioritising and being accountable, and we're going to take a look at what that looks like so you can actually make some changes. And there'll be time for homework. So this screen requires homework, and as I mentioned earlier, please download this at the end of this learning module. There are 3 pages that you need to complete. The first one will require you to be honest and actually state how many hours you've, in your past week, that you actually slept, you had leisure time, you maybe watched Netflix or did some gaming, you were on social media, had family time. If any of these sections aren't relevant, then maybe cross something out and add it in. If you've got a new relationship that you spend a lot of time with, then add the hours up. The total you have to work with is 168 hours. Most people, when they do this, find themselves within 8 to 10 hours of flexible time. So that's a good key, but it also alerts you to where you're spending a lot of your time. The next page will be your SMART goals. So this will help you work through using your learning styles as to whether you're more visual, you're auditory or kinesthetic, and be able to tweak the SMART goals that you want to achieve this year. So just fill in all of those documents, and down the bottom it actually has an action step for the next 12 months as to what you achieve. The third page is called the Wheel of Life. It actually gives you a refresh of where your priorities lie. Are you actually, so you know how we often go to a hospital and the doctor says to you, what's your pain level on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, this is a positive statement. On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with these key areas? I suggest that you circle the number that you feel reflects where you are. When you've completed the circle, then link each of those circled numbers, and you'll actually see, again, a reflection of where you're focusing, where you're not, maybe where you want to be, and how that aligns, or if it aligns, with the other first 2 pages. This Wheel of Life is used a lot in our coaching organisation, and it helps people be a little bit more accountable where they actually are and where they want to be. So today's wrap-up will be that you will be able to identify your time management style being visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. I hope that you'll be able to review your SMART goals and your time management strategy in alignment with your style, and also take into account the needs of your family and your business team. I hope that you will take on how to prioritise your actions and your emails, and maybe even employ a virtual assistant if you're able to. It's important that you do your homework. You will discover where you invest most of your time and identify any gaps that need to be addressed, and then create a roadmap for your ideal week and how much flexible time you will have left in your week. Most times people actually come up to me in my workshop and say, but Lydia, please tell me, what are your tips for getting there faster? So I thought I'd share this slide with you, and I use this on a daily basis. Sometimes I'm off track, but I know how to get back on track because I have access to my ideal week, my daily method of operation, and I know what my SMART goals are. Mind map regularly. Sometimes break it down into A mind map for family, a mind map for work, a mind map for study or personal development. Make sure that you audit your SMART goals regularly. Are you on track or off track? Use the wheel of life, where you are and where you want to be. And another important thing is to identify the moment of truth. What that actually means is sometimes what you're trying to do isn't actually going to work. So identify it and make the relevant changes. Are you on track or off track? The other thing that's important is to manage expectations of yourself, for your team, for people around you, for your circle of influence, and make sure that you always clarify why you're doing the way you're doing it and use the right words to communicate. Get mega organised. Create the ideal week, create your own checklist. Hold yourself accountable. Find a friend, a manager, or use tech. Also ask powerful questions. Seek first to understand. Why this is important is the fact that quite often somebody can be telling you or giving you an instruction, and in your mind you're going, yep, I know how to do that, but it's not actually what that person needs or wants. So come back with what specifically are you looking for? There's lots of other powerful questions you can use, but that's a common one that I use. Putting first things first. Work out what's urgent and important, use the deadline, use the matrix, and let me tell you, success leaves clues, and bad decisions also leaves clues. So understand, take it on board, keep a diary, make note of what's working, and when you do your audits, you respond accordingly. Understand your learning styles and those of your inner circle. It is really key to managing your time management strategy. And finally, fortune is in the follow-up. How many times do you think you are on the same page as somebody, or in your team or your organisation or even with your staff? Just keep double checking. Are you on track or off track? Fortune is definitely in the follow-up. So you showed up for a reason today, maybe more than one. You wanted to understand time management, you wanted to find out some tips. Even though you've been super busy, I really do appreciate it. Thank you for your time. I hope you've actually taken on board some of the tips and skills and understand a little bit more about your time management style. I'm very grateful to even be just a little part of your time management journey. Thank you.